I have it open up in another window. I'm just waiting
Okay.
to load here, but
To buffer.
yeah, we should be going. Test, test, test. All right, cool. I think we're on. Do you see it?
No. Oh, I see live. Yep, I see it.
Okay, cool.
We're good.
Sweet. All right. Hey, everyone. Heather here. And today I'm doing an impromptu live stream because I am happy, very excited to have one of my clients, Dominique Henderson, here with me on the stream today. And we're going to be talking about his YouTube channel, kind of stuff that we've been working on, and then also his journey being an entrepreneur and a financial advisor. So, Dominique, hi. Thank you for being here.
Cool. What's going on, Heather? It's always great to speak with you. Thank you for inviting me on, and I'm happy to kind of chat with you back and forth.
Sweet. Okay, so if the video is looking a little fuzzy, feel free to just go and check out Dominique's channel. I have a link in the description underneath this video, and I'll also leave it in the comments. And I'll be periodically checking the comments. So if you have any questions for either of us, feel free to chime in. I mean, that's why we're doing it live, because we want to engage with you and just kind of get your feedback and answer any questions you have. So Eco Hair Braider says, yo, you're on. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here. Psychic Publicist. Hey, lovely. It's Joseph. Hey, Joseph, what's up? Thanks for being here. Yeah. All right. So, Dominique, let's kick off the conversation with, can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do, your story, stuff like that?
Yeah. So cool. So my name's Dominique Henderson. I am a financial advisor practicing mostly virtually, almost exclusively virtually, serving my clients. I've been doing what I've been doing for nearly 2 decades, a little bit over 2 decades now. And I'm one of those dudes where I kind of felt that this digital thing, this internet thing was really, really something to get a hold of and see how I can kind of incorporate it in my business. And even long before I started, financial advising on my own with my own firm, I was just always kind of, I'm a normal guy, got 3 kids and a wife, live in the suburbs in Dallas and all that kind of stuff. But, as I was just kind of thinking about the continuum of what I really care about, what I'm really passionate about, which is financial services and financial literacy, how to integrate this digital transformation into that, that's what I'm all about. And that's kind of how we even got, kind of skipping ahead a little bit, that's how we got hooked up. And it's been cool. It's been a real fun ride. So.
Yeah. And I have never worked with a financial advisor before. So this was something that I was very excited. This is a story I was very excited to kind of play around with, especially on YouTube, just because it is information that I feel like can benefit so many people, but it also is content that has a tendency to kind of just be really dry and really I mean, even for me, it's something that I just kind of tune out. So I really wanted to see how we can make this more YouTuber-y. And I think we've done a really good job of that. Dominique, I mean, if you guys get a chance to check out his channel, obviously I'm biased because I like helping him do this, but honestly, I've learned so much, and it's crazy because it's so relevant to my own journey as an entrepreneur, to my own journey, now moving in with Tom and having to do, think about separate or joint finances. I never thought about these things before. So definitely go check out his channel.
Well, cool. No, thanks. I think it's kind of interesting, right? One of my takes is that having done this for as long as I have, one thing I noticed, so I was faced with a decision in my late 30s, and I said to myself, okay, I can continue to work in the financial industry that I love, working for somebody, helping them build their firm, or I can branch out on my own. My kids are old enough. I've built a little margin in my life. I could try to do things based on how I see the industry going and what I think people need, right? And what I didn't think people needed is a guy in a suit with a bow tie on or a tie, which I like to wear those things. But at the end of the day, I think the position of a financial advisor can be so intimidating for people that they have like, you know, analysis paralysis, right? They just don't want to get into the weeds. And so I just wanted to kind of let my hair down, the hair that I don't have, and let people feel a little bit more comfortable about having these conversations, and, you know, kind of help them build their life narrative through the articulation of all the, you know, all the fundamentals of financial planning, all the stuff that I still do, but in a way that's a little bit more palatable for people. So it's just not so stuffy and rigid, right?
Yeah. So do you specifically remember the moment, like when you were like, you know what, I kind of want to think about YouTube. I'm going to try to see, like, you know, what I can do with it. Do you remember like what went into that decision?
It's been a evolution of sorts, right? It wasn't a aha. It was definitely, because I've had a YouTube, I mean, in full transparency, I've had my YouTube channel for a long time. I just kind of dabbled around, never really creating content as much as consuming, right? If that continuum could swing, you know, one or another way, I was mostly a consumer, versus a content creator now. And I've always been like that. I think maybe 4 years ago, when I started my grad studies in finance, I was consuming a lot of information, and almost for like therapy for me, I started blogging, because it was just get this information out. I know so much of it. I just want to try to see how much I retain, blah, 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 blah. And so writing went to a kind of audio podcast, very, very poorly done, very poorly done,
I don't think
on
so.
iTunes for a while. And then, you know, there was a moment of kind of clarity where it was like, dude, you're giving financial advice and you're not showing your face. It was kind of like oh yeah, that will kind of help people trust me a little bit more. So I started to do another, you know, not so good, definitely pre-Heather version of video. And then, you know, I guess this summer, when I was really trying to just make some traction with some stuff I was reading and people I was talking to, I was like, you know, in the next 3 to 5 years, there's like nobody. First of all, there's nobody on. When I say nobody, I do mean there's some people, but it's such a small number, it doesn't even register, right? Because you and I did this research, but there's like virtually no one talking about what I'm talking about on YouTube. And I was like, in the next 5 years, I can literally be, you know, the next Dave Ramsey or something if I do this right. So at least, you know, at least create this, what I would call a repository of information for people to consume whenever they want to, just like you can, you know, YouTube how to fix a toilet handle or something like that. So it should be how to create a really easy budget without pulling your hair out, right? You should have that. So I wanted to deposit that into the world.
Yeah.
So that's why YouTube.
Right. And I think that's why I really don't know how to explain this, but when I think about the clients that I want to work with, especially when it comes to YouTube, I really appreciate you knowing that it is a long-term game, because especially with social media, YouTube, digital content, creating this entire space, it's so, you know, it's a constant battle of just like you upload something, you post something, and you wait for the numbers, and if you don't get it right away, it's a failure. And that's, you know, yeah. I've seen that that's not true. I know that that's not true, you know, overall. Obviously, even the, you know, really successful people like Gary Vaynerchuk, he's been creating on the platform for years and years before anything hit. So, you know, of course, we would love that. We would love, you know, the freaking viral videos if we can have them. But like you said, I mean, if I think back to 2.5 years ago when I first started this and told myself, like, you're going to have 7,000 subscribers, you're going to have a platform where people are constantly going to be watching your videos every day, I wouldn't have believed myself. You know, it's like weird that that's actually possible. And it totally is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think, I don't know, in my industry, it's, I don't know that it's any different in that people want instant gratification. I think that's not industry specific. I think it's kind of germane to the human population, right? I think everybody wants kind of instant gratification, but a lot of the things that are, worthwhile and that are, going to really benefit a large group of people over a long period of time take a while to build. So I said this earlier, one of the things, I drink my own Kool-Aid, right? I eat my own cooking. So a lot of everything I use with my clients, I've done before, right? I'm the financial advisor that has had, way back in the day, problems with my credit. So I know how to rebuild that. I know what not to do, what to do, all those type of things. So these are things that I was building along the way. And so I was able to look up 3 years ago and go, okay, I have enough saved. I have, this, I'm at this point in my life, like I'm going to start a business doing this. And I know it's going to take 4 to 5 years to get off the ground, but that's fine because I know after that 4th or 5th year where I'm going to be, and that's where I want to be. So I think the long game is just like, that's advice. That's very good advice for everybody, right? It's just to, social media, I think, lends itself to having you think that just because you post something that everybody and their mom has to like it. But it's like, I think I go back to, and I tell you this all the time, but I go back to, it's all about what's in it for me. I have that very clear in my mind when I'm talking to a client is how can I help them? That's the only reason they've reached out to me is they want to know how they can be helped. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's how do we exchange my time and our expertise for what they can afford or what they need. And it goes from there.
Right. And you said that, I mean, have you talked to your colleagues, for example, in the same financial space that have discovered your channel? Like, have you gotten feedback from them?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like I think I've shared this with you on our calls. Is that so? I'm actually in a sort of a unique position in that I run my own investment advisory practice, but I also consult with probably a dozen or so financial advisors every month and have been since this past January. So I get a lot of perspective on what's going on in the industry, what other people are doing in their business, how people see what I'm doing and opine accordingly. Like, that's great, or I can't do that because whatever. It's kind of interesting to see the feedback. I think largely what I've noticed is that the digital space for financial advisors, kind of like the wild, wild west right now. It's like the gold rush. Nobody's out there, but if you want to go out there, you want to live in a log cabin and live off the land, like you have squatter's claim, you can do it, but it's going to be hard. And there's a lot of, depending on the structure you're in, and I won't get too far in the weeds, but financial advisory has a lot of what I would call constraints and obstacles from a regulatory standpoint. So depending on the structure you're in, it can be a little difficult because you have to keep running things past people for their approval to make sure you're not, purporting things that are not true.
Right, of course.
But at the end of the day, if you have something that's a little bit more forgiving, but you're still trying to do right by people, and you have the, a good process in place, like I feel I have, then this is a great opportunity. I feel it's a great opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's just a matter of time, honestly.
Yeah. So, well, you've been a lot of help. I would not have gotten to the point that we're at now. And I'm not even just looking at like a subscriber standpoint. I think that's meaningful. Like, we've more than doubled the subscriber base since we started working together. But at the same time, I think just the momentum, the traction, and the way I think about content, and like a lot of stuff, I'll give these examples. So a lot of the stuff I was doing as far as content creation was just, it was everywhere. Like, I didn't have a set focus. No, like really, like there was no, like, I think every creator, no matter what industry, you have to have a content creation calendar / system. Like, you got to have something. Like, when are you going to post? What are you going to post on? How are you going to manage that so it's not, just warmed over, rehashed stuff? Like, I was actually listening to Gary Vee the other day, and he was saying the same thing about like his whole team and how they create stuff and where they put it and who organizes. Like, that's a big deal. And so, like, I think I would not have even had that aha moment in this evolution of how to create stuff unless we start working together. Because it wouldn't have been, I've been like, I'll get to it when I get to it, or all right, it's on my to-do list forever. But as far as organizing the format I'm going to put stuff in, whether it's going to be bite-sized micro or more macro, all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't have thought about that. So kudos to you for pulling that out of me.
Well, thanks for being like so open to it. I think that's something that constantly amazes me is people who haven't created at all, and then to make that leap of like putting themselves in front of the camera, which you clearly did not have a problem with to begin with, but to also take that coaching, to take that like, we can word this a little better, or you can fix the framing a little better here and stuff like that. I mean, that was like my favorite part in the beginning, especially because it was like the improvement from one video to the next was just so cool to watch.
Yeah, my wife would disagree about how well I take pictures. We'll keep this conversation between you and I. How about that? How about that one?
Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay, so let's see why can you talk a little bit about like how you found me? Because I think that's something is very relevant for my entrepreneurial journey for anyone watching me, but then also I think sheds light into like how the economy, how people do business, how people transact digitally, right? If you are in need of a service, and how do you find that person, even though they're located like in a completely different state? How did you go about that?
Yeah, I'll give your audience two perspectives. The perspective of a consumer of those services from the standpoint of I'm looking for a Heather to help me with this, and from the standpoint of I might be a Heather or a purveyor of services. How should people find me, or how can I be found? So the first is like I'm a power user of LinkedIn, and so I make a fairly, I guess, sizable, from a relative standpoint, investment every month on the platform as far as what I contribute from a content standpoint and what I pay in order to have access to a lot of their tools. And one of them is called Sales Navigator. Now, granted, I probably could have found you with the lower tier offer that they have, but I was able to get really granular. Like, I want people with this amount of experience. I want people that are in the digital space. So I was able to narrow it down by industry. You can even do by, like if you wanted a female, Marys. I mean, it's pretty robust. So that was the initial search, which, I showed you how I did that. And, in full transparency, I had like, I don't know, 15 names. And I spent 2 days just kind of going through their profiles and looking at it. So that's from a standpoint of a consumer. Now, what I would say that benefited you, and one of the reasons why I picked you, was you stood out. And I know people say this all the time, but I have a very short attention span for like I'm not a good Facebook feed scroller, Instagram feed scroller. It just doesn't hold my attention. So one of the things that stood out was your hair color. And I was like, now this person is purporting that they do digital media, social media on YouTube. And she actually looks like she might fulfill that mandate. She's not all buttoned up and, like PR agency looking, which that would have been okay. But at the same time, I think I was looking for somebody that was more cutting edge, if you will, like, right? So after that, I went immediately to your profile on YouTube. And that was the first thing, is like, you passed the first level of sniff right, test because you had subscribers. It wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't hard to have more than me at that point. But at the same time, I was looking at how many videos you created, how long you've been on the channel, on the platform. I was looking through your videos and looking at comments. I was like, okay, so she, all these things. I was just kind of picking up little data points. And then I went to your website, saw that you had the course. So all of those breadcrumbs led to me being like, this is worth the conversation at least. And I've tried stuff like Fiverr and Upwork, and those are all great. But I think what you need, in my opinion, if you don't know what you're looking for and you just have a general idea, you start with a global search like a LinkedIn or something like that, and you narrow it down from there. But if you know exactly what you're looking for, I want somebody to produce my podcast at X amount of quality, 3 shows a week, then go straight to Upwork or Fiverr. You're going to find somebody that you need there. But at the same time, I think everybody's probably not as anal as I, but you still need to have a presence that makes you attractive on paper, even before that person has that first conversation, right? Because I'm having sort of a dialogue with you while I consume what you've put out there digitally, right? So I'm learning a lot about you, and I have expectations coming into that call. So
Right.
I think that's very important for creators or people that are service providers to know that nowadays people are going to look you up. They're gonna find out about you, and they're gonna I call it cyber stalking. They're gonna know enough about you to make a decision and have an impression that you probably need to meet on that first call.
Right. And I think that could be a disadvantage, but it could be an advantage as well. And I thank you for sharing that, because I think, you can get, for me especially, I can get so caught up in like creating that I forget what it's like from the like customer end, and that whole journey of like, everything, all the data points, like you said, that go into factoring into the decision making, and then finally making that inquiry. And just thinking about from before you called me and everything that was like on my mind in, I don't know, August.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps to know, like, okay, this is what you looked at, and everything else is like fluff. It doesn't really like push, like convince you one way or the other. So maybe I don't need to be like daily posting on Instagram and daily uploading on YouTube and this, if that's my goal, is to get more clients like you. Do you know what I mean?
I say yes and no to that, right? Because I talk to a lot of advisors that are like, hey, Dom, when am I going to get, I'm doing all these activities and I'm really trying to, get clients, and it doesn't seem to be working. Like, should I be shooting 3 videos a week or 5 videos a week? And what I would say to that is kind of what we talked about at the beginning of this is, it's not going to be instant, right? Like, you have been at what you're doing for a while, and to a certain extent, you've kind of paid your dues. So, it's almost like when we started, I was like, okay, Heather, this is like really hard. You got me posting, 3 times a week. I remember like I had to go travel for a better part of 1 month, and I felt like I was going to die shooting all the videos that I was shooting. But at the same time, like some of those videos are like ranking really well right now, right? Like, and that was that grind. I kind of look at it like, like a personal trainer at the gym, and they were like, give me 5 more, type of deal. So I think there's a balance with that. Now this is what I would say, and I stole this from Gary Vee. I would say if you're 3 years in the game, no matter what you're doing, you're posting 3 times a week, like you've done your content challenge. I would strongly recommend people do the 90 posts in 90 days type of deal, just to kind of cut your teeth. If you've done something like that and you've been at it for a while and your business is just not moving, you probably need to do something else. Like, that's just my own, my personal opinion, because you're doing something wrong. And at that point, you should have either had enough of revenue to reinvest in the business, to hire somebody to give you some different perspective, or you should be making enough money now where it's sustaining itself. Like, you're seeing some traction. If neither one of those things are happening, then you're probably doing something wrong.
Change something up. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into your expertise. You're a financial advisor. First of all, what does that mean? Like for people who would never, you know, didn't even realize that this was a field. Are you someone, you know, when would someone need a financial advisor?
Yeah, so let me take that question in two parts. I love the first part of it because it brings out the teacher and the educator in me, because people don't know this, but there's 400,000, approaching 400,000 people in the US that use the title financial advisor. So, and that can be anybody from, you know, the highest with all the alphabet soup behind their name to somebody that sells life insurance. Nothing against people that sell life insurance, but that just gives you the range. And so when I say financial advisor, what I mean is not necessarily what I do, because that could be eventually it's going to be commoditized, right? We got robo advisors and all that kind of stuff. I think it's more around what state I'm trying to get my client to, right? It's a state of being. It's a state of like, what type of narrative can we create for Heather that allows her to live her best life? Finances have to be integrated into that because of where we live and how we live. And it's more about, hey, I've got, like, I say this on my podcast, like, I've got unlimited choices, but I've got limited resources of time and money. Like, how do I make the best decisions? A good financial advisor helps you do that. So that's the best way I would kind of explain that.
Okay. So knowing that, and you know, you've watched my content. Mm-hmm. We've worked together for a while. What are your, maybe not just for me, but really any other entrepreneurs who are kind of like at the stage that I'm in, what are your top 3 tips from where you're standing for, you know, people like me, people who are like entrepreneurs and still trying to find that stability?
Entrepreneurs have a very interesting path here, right? Because by default, what you've kind of done, if you've kind of like, you know, you've almost given the one finger salute to the world and how things go, like earning a paycheck and, you know, the straight and narrow. You've decided to say, I'm going to create something and I'm going to invest in this asset that is myself, that eventually will blossom into these other things that I can monetize. The caveat with that notion, though, is that often you get so engrossed in growing the business and the asset and all this other kind of stuff, you don't, if you have this skill set, it's usually kind of hidden to manage the money, right? And then there's just this inherent bias that people have, myself included. I have a financial advisor. I'm a financial advisor with a financial advisor because I just believe in eating my own cooking, in that I have an inherent bias that just because I made the money, I know best what to do with it, which is not always true. It can't be by default, right? So I think, back to your point, I think, or your question, I think the problem with the financial or the entrepreneur is that number one tip would be, you know your numbers. And sometimes that's not your strong suit. Sometimes you need to hire somebody. Sometimes you need to leverage the advice of an outside counsel. There's a lot of tools out there that even I use with my business owner clients, like, you know, Fathom HQ, and Biz Equity. These are a couple of tools that allow you to basically kind of brain dump or data dump all your QuickBooks stuff or whatever you use into there, and it'll give you like what's driving your business. Like, for instance, so I know that my business is driven by obviously how many clients I bring in the door, but if you look at the underlying activity from that, it really means that I need to be engaging and creating relationships all the time, right? Or whether that's on the phone or digitally or whatever. Many business owners may realize at a 30,000 foot level how that works, but as far as, you know, making the, you know, greasing the wheel to make that engine go, they don't really know what to do. Like, I get, well, a lot of financial advisors, we're a lot of business owners, we're a lot of solo people, and what they want to do is they want to stay in the minutia of, you know, tinkering with their investment strategy and, you know, tinkering with their CRM. But really what they need to do is get on the phone and call some people.
Yeah.
Right. So I think my number one tip there would be kind of like know yourself, know what you're good at, and outsource the rest. Most people don't want to do that, but like, You know, the reason why we're together is I was like, I don't want to figure out YouTube. Like, there are people that are better at it than me. And this is a worthwhile investment if it's going to help me get to my goals faster, which it's doing that. So it's winning. I think people just need to be a lot more self-aware and say, you know, I can take a little pay cut, or I can earn a little less and make this investment and get to your goals a lot faster.
Totally. I mean, looking back, I that's something I would tell myself also. I think I had this sense of pride of like, you know, it was a combination of bootstrapping, but then also like empowerment. Like, look at all this stuff that I'm learning, but from a, you know, trying to be as effective as possible, it would have been so worth it to just invest in certain services that just took me forever, that I could have just saved so much time like doing something else.
Yeah, I'm a big so full transparency. I've been broke before, right? People on this, they've been broke before. Like, that's not financial advisors aren't immune from being broke, right? So,
Yeah.
And my deal is, I think I can replace money faster and more effectively than I can replace my time. That was my realization. Like, I can't replace time. I don't know how much I have. So I have to utilize what I have very efficiently. And I can always make more money. Like, really, I can. That's easy compared to trying to make more time. So when you start to think about it from that standpoint, because people have it reversed, right? They want to hold on to their money, but they want to give away their time for free. But that doesn't really make sense. So you have to kind of think about it from the flip. I mean, if you study some of the most successful people, like the top 1%, they are really, really dogged about their time, because that's the most valuable thing. So I would definitely, you know, to whatever extent you can, like if you're shoestring budget and you're just starting right now, and this goes into tip number 2, you know, I don't know that it's a good idea to do what I did unless you had the margin, right? You don't leave your job, start a business. Like you may do it as a side hustle for a bit, right? You may do like Gary V and do some garage sales for about a year and save up some money. But you work that job until you can replace your income. Like that's what you should do. And I think having that type of hybrid existence, and instead of 8 hours a day, you work 16 for the next 2 years, you won't die. You'll be all right. And so do that for a while instead of just kind of launching out there, because running a business is hard. It's like super, super duper hard.
Amen.
I mean, like, people don't understand, like, all the time, you know, I love my wife. We've been married 21 years, but she doesn't understand the grind of an entrepreneur. It's just hard. Like, I'll sometimes do my push days. My push days are basically hour and a half to 2 hours before my alarm is set, to come in here with my headphones on or my classical music and just go at it with no interruptions. If I do that 3 or 4 times a week, I can get 7 or 8 hours. That's a whole nother workload. So, but you have to do that. That's what you have to do in the first 2 to 3 years. I mean, that's just what it is. And I don't know that if you embrace that, then you're going to be good. Mm-hmm. If not, then you need to go get a job.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Really quick, Thrifty Girl says, awesome. Adoji's here, says hi. He's broke right now. Eco Hair says,
it'll change.
Yeah. Eco Hair says, yes, me too. So true to what you were saying. So
cool.
Did you say your third point?
Or
was that?
Well, you know, so let me give some financial. It's hard to give generic financial advice because
of course
everybody's so different. I say have a budget, right? Budget is such a bad word because, quite honestly, this industry has prostituted people into charging them egregious amounts of money for something that's very meaningless and invaluable. What I would say is 2 things about a budget. The first is it could be very simple, it's like the principle KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So like just to have something that you can understand, money going in, money going out. Like I think of a budget as, even as a financial advisor, I think of a budget as not a big spreadsheet, although I've done that before. I think of my money comes in, I pay myself first. I put money into a tax account for Uncle Sam, and I put money into a savings account that I don't touch unless it's emergencies. That's it. Anything else left over can be reinvested or what have you. That's my budget. Now, that doesn't work for clients all the time because they got so many moving parts, but that works for me. And I think you have to just range the degree of complexity based on the client. Now, having done this for 2 decades, I can do that. Most people just need to have a awareness about what they bring in and where that goes before they pay themselves, which they usually don't do, and set aside something for taxes. If this is a business owner discussion, right? So I think that would be the main thing. The other thing is business owners need to really consider outsourcing, like we talked before. Like I think, once you get to a certain, it's like, so in our business, once you're at like 150, 200,000 in revenue, it makes sense for you to kind of pull back from all the mundane admin stuff and probably get somebody that can help you out. Like, I'm thinking about bringing my daughter into the business, depending on her situation after school, yada, yada, yada. But, just those things that when I think about doing them, it makes my eyes roll.
Yeah, totally.
Because there's people that are good at that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that my time is better spent on high-level strategy with my clients.
Yep. Really quick, Thrifty Girl says, what do you mean pay yourself first? Like a salary for your basic needs, rent, bills, etc.?
Yeah. So I think, so let's just break down a business real quick, right? So business revenue is different than business profit, right? So revenue is all the receipts from rendering services or products minus the costs that it costs to do that. So like one of my big costs are the interchange fees for credit cards that I swipe, right? So that's a cost of doing business. I can't really get away from it unless I change everything. So once I factor in everything that costs to run my business, I have what is really termed as gross profit, right? I haven't really done anything with that, right? It's just revenue, top line, cost of goods sold, gross profit. Now, after my gross profit, that's when I start looking at, okay, it's just me here. Now, what I could do, and this is where it gets all individualized because I don't know how Thrifty Girl may be structured, but I'm structured as an LLC. So anything I pay myself is the same as if I had all the, other stuff. So I just pay myself a draw, right? Like salary to live on. And I pay that out of my business account into my personal account. So there's a real clean, chain of paper trail. And so anything left in my business goes to pay for things to run my business, whether that be software, whether that be, whatever. Most of it's software for me, or marketing. I do a lot of Facebook ads and yada, yada, yada. So, and then after that, I have some profit left. I throw that into a business account that is just for, building residual value, essentially. So, because you got to have cash flow in the business. Eventually, I'm going to want to hire somebody. I'm not going to pay them. I'm not going to take a super big pay cut. I'm going to pay them out of what the business has already generated. So hopefully that helps. But that's kind of the waterfall in what I would think about. At some point, you want your business to be able to pay you, right? I mean, otherwise, what are you doing it for? You might as well just go get a job. Right?
Exactly. Otherwise, you're just volunteering.
Yeah.
So great tips. Thanks for sharing. And if you're just tuning in, because I know some of you guys are popping in and out, this is Dominique. He's one of my clients. He's a financial advisor, and we're working together to build and grow his YouTube channel, which you can check out. There's a link underneath the description of this video. But for anyone who just tuned in, Dominique, you just gave your tips on financial stuff for entrepreneurs. What can people expect if they went to your channel? What do you talk about? What's some of the content that you create about?
Yeah, so I think at the heart of me, everything emanates from this idea that I am only one person. I'm not going to be able to work with everybody. It's just inconceivable. I don't even want to work with everybody. It's a little funky. So in that, and it's okay. Like I kind of feel like I can give away 98% of what I know and charge for 2%, and I'll just be fine, you know, for that 2% that I keep. So when you come to my channel, you're going to get a plethora of financial literacy. And when I say financial literacy, I mean, what is a FICO credit score? What is good debt versus bad debt? Like all these, like what I would say, stuff that should have been taught at a very early level, like high school, maybe even middle school, elementary, that doesn't get taught. Like I'm really trying to move the needle on helping people with financial literacy, which dovetails into economic empowerment. If you know more about your finances and you're more literate, you're going to be a more productive person. You're going to earn more. And it inevitably gets you to wanting to grow more as a person, not just financially, but personal development. So those are the three themes of the channel: financial literacy, economic empowerment, and personal development. And so I kind of do a rotisserie of topics in those under that umbrella, just to keep it interesting. And whatever is just kind of top of mind. I do a lot of reading, so that's inspired a lot of my podcast. But for the most part, I'm just trying to help people move the needle and help them win with their money, whether they work with me or not.
Yeah. So if you guys get a chance, go check out Dominique's channel, Dominique Henderson. Again, the link to his channel, I'll put it in the chat as well. But you know, we're still growing. So if there's something that you have a question about, if there's something you wanted to learn more about when it comes to finances and budgets and personal finance and even the stock market, retirement stuff, I mean, he can cover it all. So feel free to go check out a video, leave him a question or some feedback in the comments. And
I read all comments.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. Do you have any questions for me? I know we've gone on for like, you know, about 40 minutes, but
yeah,
I'd like to keep going a little bit.
How is the business venture, like you're doing some, I think you're like, I'm pretty sure your audience knows about it, so I'm not like telling a secret, but you kind of, what's the journey on the whole business, I don't want to say business classes, but it's like the council that you're doing, the Coachella Business Council thingy. How's that? Yeah.
So I turned in my business plan. It's for the Coachella Valley Women's Business Center. They have an entrepreneurial program that wrapped up 2 weeks ago. Turned in my final business plan, which I'm working on that vlog. But it was really cool. My biggest takeaway from it was like kind of a combination. You know, see, it's funny how the timing of all of these things, it was like working with you, having to put together a, you know, financial projection budget thing for that business plan, getting more clients, kind of making a decision on my online course and stuff like that. It all accumulated with this 3-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my first goals is to generate $100,000 in revenue next year.
Mm-hmm.
And being really specific about the client services that I offer. So I think, you know, I would say all the way up until maybe 6 months ago, I wasn't sure what services I really offered, just because it was like, you're the social media person. So we need someone to run our Instagram. We need someone to manage our Facebook ads. We need someone to do our videos. I need YouTube coaching. It was just kind of like, you know, when people found out what I did, then I would kind of just customize what I offered to their needs. Yeah. And, you know, there's always going to be a little bit of that, but I like how now I just have like, here's the 3 things I offer, and just, you know, taking the approach of, I want to find my ideal clients and just hunt them. Yep. Just go after them versus like, this is what I think I can do for you, and let's go back and forth forever until finally, like, you know, something happens. So, yeah. That, and, you know, for my online course, that's kind of chilling right now, because it just, I really started thinking about, what is it called? Customer acquisition costs. And it just took forever for me to get one person to enroll in 022 Hero for $200 for lifetime access. And it's just like, you know, the content's really good. I've had some very, you know, students that have seen very solid results with it, but it's just so broad. It's like how to start a YouTube channel. And it's not like specific to, okay, how to start a YouTube channel if you're a teenager, how to start a YouTube channel if you're an entrepreneur who is an online business, you know, how to start a YouTube channel for whatever. So that, you know, that's kind of going to be my secondary goal, is doing a 2.0 of Zero to YouTube Hero, which I'm excited about. You know, I still believe in the content. I have, you know, my friends James and Mark, they were one of the first people I coached, and they just passed 10,000 subscribers this weekend, which is crazy.
Cool.
I mean, from nothing, from absolutely nothing, not even caring to start a YouTube channel, and so now just like 10,000 people. So, so yeah, it's like, you know, I'm feeling more in a rhythm. But one of the things I was thinking about this morning was like, okay, now what do I do this YouTube channel? Because, you know, to close that $100,000, I don't necessarily need to keep creating content here, because, like, you know, for you, for Stephanie, who's one of my new clients, I have enough social proof. I have enough of portfolio. Like, I don't really need to create more content, but I don't want to just do away with the platform that I have.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
Here's just what I think you should do. Like, so we have a lot of advisors that come through our marketing program on the consulting side. And that's not my business. I work with somebody, full disclosure. But what we would say to somebody in that instance is, like, what they're really wanting to do is not go more wide or more broad. They're really wanting to just double down and go more deep, right? You know, they come to us and they go, yeah, I'm already at most of my goals. It's just that I want to find more of this type of client, and I want to fire the type of clients I don't want to work with, or not have to bring them on in the first place because I know I need the revenue. And we like, oh, okay. So, and this is the key for everybody, not just financial advisors, not just you. It's, you have to get really specific with who you want to work with. That's all that it really boils down to, right? So if you say, you know, I'm creating a Zero to YouTube Hero channel or course for people that are in the financial advisory space that want to grow their business through the digital media space by creating a YouTube channel and get to 5,000 subscribers in the first year. I mean, you might have to get that specific, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, that is because, granted, there's maybe, I don't know, in your target market, maybe there's 10,000 of those people or 15,000 of those people. But you can easily create a very targeted Facebook strategy for them, and your client acquisition cost will drop significantly because you'll just be marketing to them. And all you need is a handful of those guys and gals. And
right, exactly.
That's the way to look at it. But I think a lot of people, including financial advisors, you know, most financial advisors have, like, historically, like, anybody with a pulse and $500,000, that's our client. But there's so much variance in the, you know, the engineer with $500,000 and the, you know, person that's got $500,000 in like 15 different accounts. Those are two different people. And, like, I have a preference for who I want to work with. Actually, it's neither one of those people. But anyway,
right.
The point is you got to be really specific about who you want to attract, because that's who will be attracted to you.
Yeah. And you know, I think it's just because I've been new to this, and it's not something, you know, my 2 years, it's just, I had to take whatever client I could, obviously. But now, you know, I could kind of sit back and be like, yeah, I do have a preference.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely much prefer working with this type of person, or someone who has this type of goal, or allows me to do this certain thing. And now it's just about hunting them down, you know, and just going after them. So
the reality is you can charge more for that type of client too.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, that's another thing I learned in the program was like, and it's so true. The ones that are like trying to get not like a discount, but just really like penny pinching are the ones that like I'll get the text at like 10 p.m., you know? And I'm like, dude, seriously right now? Are you kidding? And then the ones that, you know, like Stephanie, oh my gosh, I never hear from her. She, you know, tell me when you're coming. I'll show up. Just tell them what to do and done. You know, it's the best. It's so nice.
Yeah.
So So yeah, these are things that like, I think you could have told me this in the beginning, but until I experienced it myself, I just wouldn't, it hits home differently.
Yeah, no,
So.
I get that. I totally get that. I think that's the path for most people. My great aunt used to have a saying, which was the best lesson is a bought lesson. So, so sometimes you have to go down the road yourself. I mean,
yep.
And that's okay. I mean,
yeah, totally.
If you're younger, then time is on your side,
right.
on average. So,
right. Sandra says, "Hey Heather, congratulations on your new client. I love his channel. He found the best person to work with." Thank you, Sandra.
yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Let's close it with your YouTube goals, like your content goals. What do you think? Where do you see this going? When do you think you can like kick back and be like, yeah, we did it?
Yeah, I don't know. My business partner, he goes, dude, I know you only have like one speed, and that's true. I definitely need to smell the roses a lot more than I do because I'm pretty much on full tilt like 24/7. But I did have some BHAGs. I don't know. I don't have them in front of me right now, but I know for some reason I had like this 10,000 subscriber goal in my mind, and I've been revisiting that because it was all for getting more exposure to my my course, my e-course. And the more I think about that, it's like I'm fine with just being able to put good content out into the ether and seeing what happens, right? And so from that standpoint, I've been kind of backing off of that. I know when we first worked together, I was like, yeah, I want to be at 3,500 in November or something like that. November is pretty much come and gone. But I'm still pleased with the progress that we've had. I think a couple of things that I've learned have been like almost invaluable, like the fact that I'm doing video and so much video that I'm doing. Anybody that's coming through the marketing program that I consult with as a financial advisor, like I can help them with so much video stuff, just like do this, and this, and it's like, oh shoot, I didn't even know that, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of been invaluable. I don't know that I'm going to ever, getting back to your point or your question, I don't know that I'm ever get to like right. and it's for good reason though. It's because there's going to always, there's almost 7 billion people in the world. There's 2 billion people on Facebook a month, just about. YouTube is the second largest search engine. There's always going to be a need for good content around financial literacy. So as long as I can do it, I will do it, right? Because there will be a time in the not so distant future where I won't be able to create as much content as possible. And I want as much videos for people to consume. So that's kind of my goal now, is just to get as much out there as I can, and just kind of pour out and do a brain dump. And then let's see what happens. My time is already starting to be like, so it's, I'll do it as long as I can, help as many people as I can.
That's awesome. So again, guys, if you haven't had a chance to check him out, this is Dominique Henderson, and he has a YouTube channel. He's a financial advisor, and he has a YouTube channel about personal finance, economic empowerment. You can check it out. Link is in the chat and also in the description underneath this video. With that said, I think we're going to wrap it up. So Dominique, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story, and for your tips and all of that. Pleasure.
It's always fun. I always learn something new. Each interaction we have, I'm always scribbling down some notes all the time. So
yeah, one of these days we should do a live coaching session. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd be open for that. Hey, I'm an open book. I don't like as much video as I do. People should know that I'm an open book right now. Like I do obviously have the the private side of stuff, but yeah, for the most part, if it comes to financial literacy and people are just trying to figure things out, or even some of the stuff that you and I have talked about on the biz dev side, or just kind of entrepreneurship stuff in general, I'm an open book on most of that. So awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, if you're watching the replay, give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Dominique and I will check them and obviously reply back. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Go subscribe to Dominique's channel as well. And we will catch you guys later. Thanks. All right. Bye. All right.